Hello, folks. How are things? How is everything progressing? Hope all is going well. Hey Matthias, how's it going, man? Wanton, how are you? Mr. Awesome, back again. Hikari, back again. I'm noticing names I've known before. Nice, nice, nice. Hey Sergio, new name. How's it going, man? Positive Geekery, we're going to discuss you in a minute, mate. In a good way. In a good way. In a good way. We are doing Horus Lupercal today, yes. Indeed. Indeed. Right. Turn this light down. It's right in my face. Oh my god. There we go. Oh, that's better. Afternoon, Will. How's it going, man? Getting ready for your screenplay review tomorrow. Okay, hope it goes well. Hope it goes well. How's everyone's hobby going? Mine's going pretty well. I'm mulching through for our big, wonderful event on the 21st of June. I'm mulching through 3 armies at the moment, or trying to get them finished, trying to get them done. Because I did make a promise that any of you who turn up to this event on the 21st of June from far away don't need to bring your own armies, right? I'm thinking there may be 2 or 3 of you who are coming from overseas. There will be armies here for you to play, right? 2 Space Marine armies and a Grey Knights army. So nice and easy, you know, nice easy armies to play. You can learn on the fly. I was thinking about doing like Eldar or something, but then, you know, they're a bit more finicky. Even in one-page rules, they're a bit more finicky. So I elected to go with 2 differing play styles of Marines with some Grey Knights as well. So there's 3 armies there for you to play. A little while ago, I was in a pub because, as I am wont to do, each of our Space Marine chapters on the channel has had a sort of heritage to it. So a lot of you will know, back in the day, I used to have an army known as the Astral Blades. They were a part of the channel even before the channel existed. When I was in the US, I was making these guys, and when I came back, I kind of, unlike other people who keep these models around forever, I've used 40k in the past as kind of like a coping mechanism. So when things aren't going very well, like I will delve into the hobby, you know, in the past, and I'll have some fun times. But when those dark clouds have passed and I'm okay, I don't really like looking at those Marines anymore. I'm like, oh, it just it reminds me of a worse time in my life, right? I've still got models in my house that are from my time at Games Workshop that I painted when I was there. You know, I just don't play with them. I don't look at them because I don't like being reminded of that time, you know? So, after a while, I dropped the hobby altogether because I live vicariously through you guys, right? I'm in a very strange position of not really needing to do the hobby because I run a YouTube channel where people talk to me about their hobby all the time. So I kind of feel like I'm doing it without doing it. you know. Then summer last year, I started thinking again of doing another Space Marine chapter, and I ended up in a pub with Positive Geekery and another friend, and we were discussing Charlie, by the way, who does the who's a mod on the Discord. So we were sitting there talking about ideas for Space Marine chapters, and he came up with a very cool idea, and that was, you know, keep the color scheme as it is because it's the channel, you know, the channel colors, but call them something like more akin to the channel, like the Exile Blades or something. And that just really struck a chord with me. And I changed the name to, I had to think about it. I changed the name to Exiled Blades because it kind of worked better. And I started thinking about how to do a new Space Marine chapter using these dudes, and I couldn't settle on anything to do. I didn't want to do exactly the same as last time. I just couldn't settle on it. Couldn't really, you know, nail down a colour scheme. Space Marine players, you will know what I mean. In fact, any 40k person, you will know what I mean, right? Settling on a colour scheme is the worst. You're so indecisive, and you like so many different things. So in the end, I elected to not make one Space Marine chapter, but make a few. All that were all a part of the Guardians, called either the Guardians of the Umbral Sector or the Umbral Guardians, right? They're guarding this one sector in the Imperium. And it meant I could experiment with different colour schemes, different pieces of lore, you know, different ways of fighting, stuff like that. And I elected to use the Emperor's Wolves, who are an actual Space Marine chapter in the lore, but they haven't really got much lore to them. They got a colour scheme, one or two events that happened to them, and that's pretty much it. So I took them and ran with them, and did a full army, small army in their colours. But then as we got towards the, you know, announcing the tournament, I thought, these need a bit more oomph. Do you know what I mean? So I changed it to a really dark blue instead of grey, because they were originally grey. And changed their name again to the Ether Wolves, because I wanted to give these guys the Void War aspect of the old Astral Blades, right? They're really good at Void War. They're very good at Void combat. They are Space Wolf successors that don't really like Space Wolves very much because they think they're all fucking pussies, right? That kind of a thing. And that's the Ether Wolves, and you're going to be able to play the Ether Wolves, a full 2,000 point list of Ether Wolves, in the tournament. They're going to be one of the two armies that you can play. The other one is going to be the Exiled Blades, because I finally settled on a colour scheme for them. I'm not going too far away from the old one. It's going to be silver, a dulled silver, and we're going to keep the purple pauldrons, but we are going to have a gold right arm, just to show, you know, sort of like a phoenix from the flames sort of a thing. We're back, you know, that kind of a thing. And they're going to be the other Space Marine force that you could play on the 21st of June. So the Ether Wolves are very aggressive, extremely aggressive, close combat oriented. And also they can use things like artillery and big guns and things, you know what I mean, because this is what they do, right? The Exiled Blades are duelists, so yeah, they're aggressive, but they're mainly damage dealers. You know, they get into combat. They're not very good on they're not as good as the Ether Wolves on the charge, but they can, you know, fight with the best of them, sort of a thing. And they're all knights as well, so they got lots of morale boosting stuff. So that is the two forces I'm going to be bringing, and that's the story behind them, before I forget to mention it. But I know most of you will be on the side of knowing what I mean when I say you are so indecisive when it comes to actually doing your colour scheme. But with the Ether Wolves now, I'm really happy with the colour scheme. I think it looks really cool. It blends in really nicely together. And their decals are awesome. Their decals are really, really cool. Exactly, Positive Geekery. Yeah, you say Emperor's Wolves and you just think Space Wolves, even if they are different colours. Yeah, exactly. Ether Wolves means, you know, they're swimming through the ether, they're swimming through the void. I could have called them Void Wolves, but I've used the name Void already. Yeah, so they are the Ether Wolves. That's what they are. They're ambush predators, kind of a thing. Finishing Night Lord's Combat Patrol. Good, Sergio. Good. Excellent. Jim Jitsu says, painted a Moonstone Mini this week and had my first game of 40k in over half a year this weekend. Might paint tonight when chores are done. Good. Did you win or did you lose? How did you do? Mr. Awesome says, my homebrew chapter worshipped Gork and Mork. Good for them. Into the Void says, hey North, the Discord link keeps saying it's expired or not valid when I try to join it. Oh, that's weird. I only reset it the other day. Let's reset it again. Just for you. Just for you. We'll reset it again. There you go. Let me just do a post. New Discord link. There we go. Good man. Maybe you were clicking on the wrong one because the current one is that, so it hasn't changed. Yeah, so that's the story of my armies for Exile Fest. It's gonna be. I'm nearly done with the first 15 or so Marines of the like 40 Marine, well 30 to 35 Marine list. So I'm getting there. I think by the time we get to June, 3 months, literally 3 months on Friday it was, right? So in 3 months I should be able to get at least 2 of the armies done. And I'll be on the way to doing the Grey Knights. I think by the time I get there, the Grey Knights will be undercoated, you know, three colours at least on them, you know. That's what we're going to be doing. Yeah, that's my hobby for the next 3 months, is getting ready for the tournament. I think after we've done the tournament, I might be all marined out. I might be like, okay, I'm done with Marines for a bit, you know. Done with Marines. Or maybe you're in that really nice place where your army's done, but you get 1 or 2 models because you like that model. Do you know what I mean? I love that part of army building. You get to that state in the army where you've got the army done, now you're just getting 1 or 2 little bits because you want to. You want to work on this thing rather than getting the army out. Your army's ready to be played. You're working on something because you actually like it, you know. Yeah. Into the Void says, also my wife and I went on a trip to see her kids. When we got back, our roommate's dog ate one of the Void Scarred Corsairs I was painting for a friend. I was livid. I have pics and it's sad. That's awful, man. The Void Scarred are really cool. They're the models that actually got me into Eldar, or wanting to get back into Eldar. At Games Workshop, would you please make an army of Eldar Corsairs? Like an entire army. Or Exodites. Oh my god. Yes, dinosaur riding Eldar. Come on, dude. Come on. There we go. I had Sororitas versus Wardbearers. Did you win? Positive Geekery says, I'm indecisive about my actual tournament list. Starting to lean into a jump pack heavy list. Do you guys want to see the lists? I have the lists here. Do you guys want to see them? Because I can show them. Yeah, I've actually done the lists already. Okay, Okay, let me show you these. Let me show you these. We'll do the Exiled Blades first. Window capture. There we go. Here they are. Exiled Blades. Lovely stuff. So as you can see, the rules for one-page rules aren't that in-depth. Like, you can actually get into it pretty... all these special rules you see below, these are the special rules that are in your list. So any of the special rules that appear in the list above, they're down there. This is all you need to play. You need these rules here. So the Exiled Blades, we have the Chapter Master, who is pretty tough. He has Combat Shield, which is built in, so it's not on his model, but he has it, which gives him Shield Wall, which gives him a +1 to defense rolls that are not from spells. So he gets a 2+ save, essentially. So he's pretty tough. He's pretty tanky. He's got 6 wounds. He's a hero, so he can be attached to a unit. He's fearless, so he can... I think it means he can fall back. He passes morale really easily. He can deep strike. He has close combat weapon with 4 attacks, which is pretty good. Pretty good. But he's not the most amazing thing in the world. He's powerful. He's got 4 attacks, but he's not got any extras on there. This is 2,000 points on the nose as well. I was very happy with this one. We've got the Exiled Blades Company Champion, who is, again, literally just a swordsman. A very good swordsman, but a swordsman nonetheless. He gets 2 attacks, but he also gets Fearless Hero. He's very tough. He's got War Veteran, which gives him +1s to hit in melee and shooting. So he's got a very, very, very good attack quality, basically. His quality goes down to a 2+, which is awesome. We have the meat of the list, which is 2 Exiled Blades Primaris Intercessor squads of 10 Marines each. So there you go. And they're as is. So they have 8 heavy rifles and 10 close combat weapons. But if they want to get their sidearm out, their chain swords. And there are 2 heavy flamers in that list as well, in those 10, in those 2 squads of 10. So there you go. They're pretty good. They're pretty good. Reliable gives them rerolls for Reliable gives them attack quality of 2, so they get 2+ to hit flamers, which is pretty cool. You have the Exiled Blades Assault Intercessor squad, which is the same as the Intercessors, but they are close combat focused, so they get lots of close combat weapons. Hitting in the enemies, right? They get 2 attacks each when they charge, which is pretty good. It's not bad at all. Alrighty. We have the Exiled Blades Blade Guard Veterans. So here we go. These are some of the big hitters. These last 2. Again, very much like the where do I put it? The Assault Intercessor squad. You know. Very much like them. 2 attacks, 1 AP, right? But you got War Veterans as well, which is, what do I give them? Yeah, +1 to hit as well. So these guys are hitting on 2s. So the Blade Guard Veterans are hitting on 2s in combat, which is pretty good. And last but not least, we have the Exiled Blades Paladin Terminator squad. So these guys hit like a fucking truck. They hit like a truck. They got energy swords, which give them 3 attacks each with AP 1 and rending, which means they ignore regeneration if you have it. So regeneration is when taking a wound, roll 1 die, and a 5+ it's ignored. That's feel no pain. They ignore feel no pain. They don't let you do feel no pain. They cut you in half. Yeah. Big boys. They have Shield Wall 2, which gives them a 2+ save. And Furious, which is the Exiled Blades signature rule, essentially. So Furious is, when charging, unmodified rolls of a 6 to hit in melee deal 1 extra hit. Only the original hit counts as a 6 with special rules. So basically, if they hit you with a 6, they hit again, essentially. They're very, 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 very good in combat. Yeah, the Exiled Blades. Very good. But yeah. You got obliterated, Mr. Awesome? That's awful, man. Well, hopefully it gets better. Crack, yes. Yes, feel free to send stuff in. I think I'm going to start getting a menagerie of things together in terms of doing people's own lore on the channel. Yeah. So we have the Grey Knights. They have more than one page because they have spells, because they're special. But yeah, we have Grey Knights here. Essentially, they play like Grey Knights. Most of them have Ambush, which is deep striking. They're led by a Librarian and Garen Crow. So they have 3 characters and only 4 squads of infantry. One of them is 6 people as well. 6 models. But they are, pound for pound, I have to say, better than the Exiled Blades. This is a more powerful list than Exiled Blades, unfortunately. Not unfortunately, I'd like the Exiled Blades to be more powerful, but they're just not. The Grey Knights hit like a fucking truck in one-page rules. I mean, you can look at those Grey Knight Paladins compared to the other ones. You know, Storm Rifles with 3 attacks each. Storm Bolters. And 2 attacks base. You have the Aegis as well. So when taking a wound, roll 1 die. And on a 6+, it's ignored. If the wound is from a spell, then it gets ignored on a 2+ instead. They just nope your magic. They go, no, I'm not taking that, sorry. Pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. Yeah, the Grey Knights are a very fast-moving, hard-hitting force. You know, and they're really good at taking down single characters in OPR, unlike in 40k. But Grey Knights are really good duelists. They can take down big monsters like it's nothing. So they are one of the best. And of course, the Ether Wolves. Very much like the Exiled Blades. But I would say the Ether Wolves are the easiest of the lists to play. That you might get to play at the tournament. They are the easiest of the lists, in my opinion. Because their entire tactic is run forward, murder. That's literally what they do. They run forward and they murder things. That is what they do. Essentially. They have bikes as well, which the others don't have. You know, so I'd say, in terms of how fast they are, this is probably the fastest army. The Ether Wolves are the fastest one. They're Voidborn veterans. So the killing power of the Ether Wolves list is those Voidborn veterans. These are a converted unit of Reavers. So they're Reavers with double lightning claws and jetpacks. There's 6 of them, and they do 4 attacks each. And in this game, 4 attacks each is massive. Absolutely massive. They have rending as well, so they ignore regeneration. And if they get a 6 to hit, they get AP 4. These guys, if you can get these Voidborn veterans into combat with anything, it's dead. It's dead, right? So you have your Assault Intercessors there as well to take points. You got 2 Intercessor squads as well to take points. Ether Wolves, very strong list. It's a strong list, right? It's very fast moving. I'd say on the charge, Exiled Blades are better. For overall combat, the Exiled Blades are better. But they're not as quick as the Ether Wolves, and they don't have the Voidborns, which are incredible units, right? You know? So the Ether Wolves are basically the easiest to play because all they do is rush towards the enemy, they rush the objectives, and they try and take them, you know? Hardest, probably the Grey Knights, with their spells and things, and all the different abilities they have. Middling, but still good, Exiled Blades. Those are the 3 armies you'll be playing with if you come from far away to play in this Exile Fest tournament. So there you go. Wanton says, yeah, looks too simplistic for my taste. I'm glad you're proud of your work, but for me, OPR is too simplified for somebody who abandoned 10th due to its lack of flavour. Well, it depends how you look at flavour. So for me, flavour is every army does something that makes sense to the lore and to what the army looks like and how it plays, right? And every army is busted in its own way. What you've just seen there kind of disproves that point, right? Because I took the same list in 3 wildly different directions. Just because it says Grey Knight there, right? That Grey Knight list is just from the Space Marine list. It's been created from the Space Marine list. They're just one sect of Space Marines that are in the rules that you can use. You know? So from the same core rules, I created 3 wholly different armies. I expressed myself with 3 entirely different armies, entirely different lists, that play in entirely different ways. I even managed to express myself in combat, because all 3 of those armies, Ether Wolves, Exiled Blades, and the Grey Knights, are all combat armies. They're all combat-oriented Space Marines. But using the same rules, the same faction, I was able to create 3 separate lists that are good at close combat in entirely different ways. You cannot do that in Warhammer 40,000. Literally. You cannot do that. Right? If you play Necrons, you're going to play them in 1 or 2 ways. If you play Eldar, you'll play them in 1 or 2 ways. If you want to be competitive. If you don't want to be competitive, you can do what you want. Yeah, no problem with that, right? Of course you can. But if you want to be competitive at a tournament, like Exile Fest is, you have to take certain units. You have to take certain combinations, or you're dead in the water. Right? In one-page rules, I can create 3 different armies from the same list of units that play entirely differently, with a different flavour to them, and they're all competitive. They're all good. They're all very, very, very good. Because they're broken in their own ways, right? You can absolutely make some broken combinations, and that's good. OPR celebrates that. Like, great, yeah, that's what we like. Bring it. Do that again. Same thing goes for Eldar, same thing goes for Imperial Guard. I've seen some mental Imperial Guard lists at 2,000 points OPR, right? So, I mean, Imperial Guard is ridiculous. You can take the same list and you can, of like 10 to 20 models, 10 to 20 units, and you can make armies that are, you know, you can make hundreds of combinations of wholly different armies that you can play. You know. Yeah, Chaos 3.5 is good, Wanton. Yeah, I agree. I think also the simplification of rules. Don't get fooled by more rules, meaning more complex and more ability to express yourself. More rules doesn't give you the opportunity to express yourself. It gives you the opportunity to get confused. And to not express yourself because you're afraid of messing something up. Right? Less rules means you have clear parameters. It's kind of like me saying to you, Wanton, right? Okay, it's me saying to you. Here, Wanton, go to the beach with you're a kid, go to the beach. And there are no rules. You've got this, you've got a spade, and you've got a little castle thing you can do, and have fun, right? Right? You're overwhelmed. You're like, well, it's a teaching technique. I use it. You're overwhelmed. You go, well, I could make a sandcastle, or do I want to do this, or do I want to do that? And you end up doing hardly anything. You run around the beach for a bit, right? But if I put you in a really cool looking sand pit that has toys in it, and I say, play, now you have limitations, and in those limitations you can express yourself. You have clear guidelines on expressing yourself. And you can make so many different things within those limitations, right? Now 40k has lots of limitations as well, don't get me wrong. But the limitations in OPR are designed to basically mean that, yes, you're selecting from these, you have clear parameters of what you can make, but you can express yourself within those parameters really well, and that's not something that Games Workshop really do with their games. Apart from Age of Sigmar. They do with Age of Sigmar, it's really good. Heresy to some of you, I know. Anyway. I'm going to nip the loo for a sec, and then we're going to do some rebuilding, so give me a sec. Alright, I'm back. So, let's do some rebuilding of you-know-who. Of you-know-who. Alright. First things first. First thing we gotta do. Bit of housekeeping. I need to know, by and large, what did we do with Horus in the Emperor video? That was over 4 months ago now. My God, it's been a long time. Time flies. What did we do with Horus? Do we remember? Did we change much about him? I am looking forward to getting emails from people who want... I've got one already. Of people wanting to do the recap. Or help me with the recap video. But does anybody remember what we did with Horus in the original video? So I can give you my thoughts of where I think... Right, Mr. Awesome says Horus was kept on Terra and was the first one to be found. Right, okay, that's good. I like that. That does make a lot more sense than him being on Chthoniya. Okay, excellent. So, I have a thing in my head about where I want Horus to go and what I want him to be, right? In general, I'd like Horus to be a master manipulator. Mainly because in our previous videos, that's exactly what he's been. When he's been in other people's stories, he's been the one who is really good at lying, really good at obfuscation, really good at, getting people to do what he wants, essentially, right? I'd like to keep that. Like he's this mastermind. Like, he knows exactly what to say to people and when he needs to say it. He's best friends with Lorgar and Sanguinius. Good. Excellent. Right. Okay. And Tom, you made a good point there. You said, my favourite Primarch is Horus from Horus Rising. Seemed like a well-meaning but really flawed man that I really liked. That's the kind of person I want Horus to be. Well-meaning, absolutely. Well-meaning, but flawed. Yeah. So does this mean he's always been evil? No, I don't think so. I don't think so. First things first. We kept Horus on Terra, right? And in so doing, he was found by the Emperor first. He was the first found Primarch of the Emperor, and they became incredibly close because they were together for the longest time. It was just them against the galaxy, sort of a thing. And then we start finding Primarchs. Am I right in thinking that Lorgar was the second found Primarch? Am I right in thinking that? Not in real lore, I mean in the Exalverse. Yeah, manipulator doesn't mean evil, it may mean self-serving. It could also mean what Mr. Awesome said, right? He genuinely thinks he's doing the right thing. Don't worry, Pete. We've just started, mate. We've literally just started. The rebuild, anyway. We haven't even left Terra yet. We're on Terra with Horus. He's the first found Primarch. And he's there. Chilling with the Emperor. Right. Brilliant. Okay, cool. So we swapped Lorgar into Horus's place. And Lorgar's from Molech, right? He grows up on Molech. Brilliant. And he is the one who is essentially warped into being very, very religious. Okay. So, in doing that then, we have Horus and the Emperor being incredibly close, right? Incredibly close. I want to ask you a question, though. Okay? And you're gonna need to give me an answer and also type your answer as well. How human was the relationship between Horus and the Emperor? Okay. Very like father and son. Not very. Horus is a tool. MX Emperor fools Horus. Alright. What is their relationship like? How human was the relationship between Horus and the Emperor? Well, was it very human? Were they like father and son? Right? Was it not very, and Horus is a tool, but he still gets along with the Emperor because he realizes his role to play, right? Or is it a mix, right? So the Emperor lets Horus think he's his favoured son, and he's this and he's that, but in reality he's a tool that he's going to be used. Yes, Sergio, yeah. It makes him very convincing, charismatic. Captain Azek, yes, he is still a traitor in our... We didn't go all the way and do a Dornian heresy or anything. I think the cool bit about the Exalverse is that we don't stray too far from lore. This is an exercise in tidying up the lore. Making it more epic, more cool, more standout. You know, and when we tidy it up nicely, so it all makes sense and fits in together. Tom says, maybe start off with the Emperor, seeing him as a tool, but coming to genuinely care about him. But it's too late by the end to save him, which is the tragedy of the heart of the heresy. That's cool. That's cool. Thank you, board. Thank you, mate. What is a ZAR? That's interesting. What's that? ZAR. 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 What kind of currency? I don't know. It's from Zimbabwe? I don't know. Anyway. Mr. Awesome says, the Emperor wants to mould Horus into the perfect warrior and general to lead the Greater Crusade, or the Great Crusade, after he leads for the Imperium Webway project. Okay. Positive Geekery says, very. The tragedy of it being the Horus heresy is that it came from his closest son. If, example, you led a rebellion, it wouldn't be the Emperor or the Imperium. Yeah, I agree. Oh, it's Rand. Okay. I didn't think Rand was that. Anyway. Thank you anyway. Thank you for board. Cheers, mate. I like OPR says, Horus never left the Imperial Palace. The Emperor raised Horus from the moment Horus's eyes opened. And the Emperor sees himself in Horus and lives with him like a regular father due to having human genes. Okay. Chris says, I think you still need Horus to be from Chthonian, or at least some underhired gang war setup. that ability to manipulate on the fly, reward people, etc., that gritty and all the setup fits him more. Well, those places are on Terra too. Remember that, Chris. We have hive cities on Terra too, right? You know? Mathiusi says, I made you and your brothers for a higher purpose, and the stakes are high, but you are my sons, and with no humanity, we will easily forget what we do, why we do the things that we will do. Yeah, exactly. Okay, alright. I'm gonna end the poll there. We're deadlocked of very, very close, very human, like father and son, or a mix. The Emperor fools Horus. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to do what I normally do in these situations. I'm going to combine the two ideas, right? We're going to have the Emperor fooling Horus at the start. So the Emperor doesn't care for Horus at the start, right? But he learns to over time. You know, centuries. He learns to. And by the end, he actually does care about him. He's like, wow, this guy's cool, right? You know, this is my guy, right? But by that stage, Horus has kind of seen through the act and knows he's nothing but a tool and is actually starting to fear what might happen to the Primarchs and the Astartes once the Great Crusade is over, right? I think we need to start imprinting that a lot sooner. In the books, it kind of comes out of nowhere that Horus is now a traitor, right? It's like, oh, he's in this stupor, he's in this coma, and now he's a traitor because he's had a few dreams. No, come on. Right? No. No. In my opinion, Horus should already be having kind of, you know, I'm not too sure about this. You know, those kind of thoughts. He should already be having those. Because over time, it's been made clear to him that he is nothing but a tool to the Emperor. And the tragedy of it is, the Emperor is seeing him as a son now, right? And he isn't acting anymore. He actually sees him as a son. And most of the other Primarchs as well. Right? But it's too little too late. It's too little too late. Okay. Mr. Awesome says, Horus would have been the closest relationship with his legion since he was with them since day one. That's why the sons of Horus give up immediately after he dies. Yeah. Pete says, anyone else feel that the heresy would have been even more tragic if the Lunar Wolves, the sons of Horus, were the first legion instead of the Dark Angels? Yeah. Tom says, maybe Horus learns to manipulate from palace intrigue or public speaking like the Emperor. Dude, that's a really good idea. That's a really good idea. Yeah. I think Horus should have had rebellious younger years before he met the Emperor, where he's in gang warfare, he's learning to, you know, negotiate his rise through the gangs down there, and then he gets brought into the Emperor's service, he's in the Imperial Palace, and he starts learning through the intrigue of court, essentially, of courtly life, this Byzantine-like court, and learns how to do it from the master, right? Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, we'll do that. We're going to run with that idea. Absolutely. Absolutely. Tom says, in a weird way, Horus would want to serve the Emperor by rebelling against him. Maybe he thinks Big E has lost his way or has been corrupted somehow. Well, that came up in the end and the death, didn't it? Horus literally says that, doesn't he? He says, listen, you're tired. You've had enough. You can't do this. I can. So sit back, enjoy your retirement, and I will rule the galaxy. And you'll be an honoured father forever. But I will rule the galaxy. Right? He's fooled himself into thinking that, right? Love it. Yeah. Okay. So the first Primarch to be found in the Great Crusade is Lorgar. As we know from the Exile verse earlier on, Lorgar was the first to be found by Horus. Okay. And this is essentially not good news. Because Lorgar as we know, is incredibly powerful. Like, he in our setting, he is not a whiny little bitch. He is a paladin. Lorgar is a paladin. He is a paladin of faith. Right? He is unshakable in his faith in the Emperor. Absolutely unshakable. You know? And we will get into Lorgar's story in the next video, because I think he is actually up next. I think he's actually up next. So we'll get into his story in the next video. But I want to keep Monarchia. I want to keep the Emperor rejecting him, you know. And here's the thing. I've always hated this about Lorgar, right? When the Emperor turns up and he sees Lorgar, and he sees Lorgar being all, God this, and worship that, and religion this, and religion that, the Emperor seemingly goes along with it, and then only later on says, well, now you can't do that, stop it, right? No, that's bollocks, right? So the Emperor should be with Horus when they find Lorgar, and be disgusted with Lorgar, right? With the religion he's put in place. You know? He should be like, what is this? You know what I mean? Like, absolutely not. No. No. Don't do this, right? And Lorgar says, well, only a true god would deny his own divinity, and all that nonsense, right? But maybe, Lorgar transfers his hero worship from the Emperor to Horus. Because the Emperor just leaves. The Emperor leaves in anger. He's like, he keeps it together. He's like, I can't believe, no, stop this. I want all parties stopped. Stop worshipping. No, stop worshipping, right? Nobody worships anymore. Imperial truth is the way to go. That's what we're doing. And very quickly another Primarch is found, so he's got to leave. Right, I'm leaving, but don't do that anymore. Alright, cool. He leaves. He's not a fan of Lorgar. So Lorgar, feeling kind of hurt by that, you know, one, he still believes the Emperor is a god, but he also believes Horus is the son of God. Right? The chief son of God. So Lorgar knows he's the Emperor's son, he's also the son of a god, but he thinks Horus is basically the angel Gabriel, right? He's the firstborn, he's the first one. He's the first guy. The first son of God. So he sort of shifts his worship to Horus instead, right? And Horus's reaction to this is very telling. He doesn't hate it. How's that, right? He doesn't hate it. He's like, yeah, I kind of like this. This is, yeah, you're right. You know, you're right. I am pretty cool. Yeah, you're right. You know? How does that sound? How does that sound? And that's how the friendship begins between Lorgar and Horus. So, Lorgar and Horus friendship starts with Lorgar, hero worshipping his elder brother. It also gives us an opportunity to plant the seeds in Horus's head, doesn't it? If Lorgar says, well, he doesn't want worship. Do you want worship? Because, you know, I can make that happen. You know? Wanton says, and maybe, first of all, Horus tries to keep the two factions unified through the Crusade, but once he turns traitor, he fully supports the Chthonian faction. Okay, cool. Oh, right, he's from the early one. Okay. Chris says that Chthonian Terran split and forms the split in the Lunar Wolves, sons of Horus. Loyalty to the grandfather or over the father, so to speak. Or maybe they are from Luna, the moon, instead of Chthonian, but still. Okay. Okay. Board says, I've always been confused why the Mechanicus gets to be religious but Lorgar can't. Yeah. Maybe we'll get into that in a following episode, yeah. Pause the Geekery says, here could be a good take on Horus. As War Master, it's him who sees his brothers as tools to be used, and is the one who convinces them that the Emperor saw them that way as well. Ooh. Right, okay. Okay. I'm going to take Chris's idea here about the Sons of Horus Legion, right? Because he says the reason why we should do Chthonian is because the Chthonians were loyal to Horus and the Terrans were loyal to the Emperor, right? And that's kind of how the Legion was split. Why don't we keep that but move it all to Terra, right? So the gangers, the gangs, the hive gangs are all loyal to Horus from Terra, right? The guys pulled up from there are all loyal to Horus. But the ones who are given to him from like the Imperial Palace and from the noble sons of Terra, you know, they're loyal to the Emperor, right? The first Marines he gets given are Terran-born Marines. The Marines literally born from the highest precincts of Terra. And they're loyal to the Emperor. They love Horus, right? But they're loyal to the Emperor. So we can keep his idea there. We'll keep his idea. But we'll run with it that way. I really like Positive Geekery's idea there. In the Great Crusade, as it happens, as it goes on, Horus starts to use his brothers as a tool because he has been made to feel that way by the Emperor, right? Yeah? I really do feel like we should do that. So, Horus thinks, I'm being used as a tool here, so that's how I'm going to use my brothers. And that's what he starts to do. That's why he has such a bad reputation with people like Corvus Corax, right? Because he starts to just use them as tools. And he convinces them, this is how our father did it, right? He wants us to be this way. And at the start, he doesn't see anything wrong with that. At the start, he's a loyal son. He's like, no, we are tools, right? We're tools to conquer the galaxy. We need to have a function. We need to do our function. Which is why Perturaba really likes Horus, right? He's all about that shit. Right? He's all about it. Before long, though, right? Yeah, we go through, we conquer the galaxy. We're doing really well. We're getting into the nitty gritty here of what I really don't like about Horus's character, and that's his turn. The big issue with Horus's character is him turning to chaos and how he does it. And that's always been the issue. His fall on Davin is cop-out bullshit. It makes next to no sense. It's full of magic, wishy-washy nonsense that's never explained. And that really weakens the story, in my opinion. So, here's what I think we should do. Right? All throughout the Great Crusade, Lorgar and Horus are very close together. Right? If they're not serving directly next to each other, they're very close. And over centuries of the Great Crusade, victory upon victory upon victory upon victory, Lorgar is seeding this idea in Horus's head of, you're the first anointed son. You know, you should be ruling the galaxy, right? Whenever Father dies, and he will one day, right? Something will take him out, maybe an orc or whatever, you know? Because the Emperor nearly did die. Remember, on Ullanor, he nearly did die. He says to him, when that day comes, I'll support you to take Father's place. Right? I believe in you that much. I believe in you, Horus. I believe in you that much. I will support you to take Father's place. Right? So, Horus is pretty much well liked by all of his brothers because he's so good at politics. You know? Lorgar's superpower is faith. You know? And oratory. Horus's superpower is politics. It should be, right? He's extremely powerful, yes. But his superpower is politics and order. Right? And that's his superpower. That's what he does. Tom says, it's set wrong with me that Erebus turned Horus. Should be Lorgar, as only a Primarch can turn a Primarch. Or at least the son he cares about, like Loken or Abaddon. Exactly, yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Matthias says, the mantle was always meant to be passed to you. Exactly. Matthias, keep coming with those quotes. You can be quote guy. Because you're quite good at succinctly putting what people are saying in the Exile verse. Yeah, good. Keep doing that. Maybe don't spam it, but, you know, every now and again, just chime in. Because that is absolutely right, right? Absolutely. Now, we'll move away from Horus for a bit. Because he's playing the game very well. We move away from Horus. We go over to Lorgar. Okay? Go over to Lorgar. Now, Lorgar... let's say all of the worlds that he's been conquering with Horus, he's been seeding the Emperor is a god myth on there, right? The religion, the Emperor is a god. But he also seeds Horus is the son of God who will replace God one day, right? Right? How about he does that? He starts to actually seed that no, Horus is a god. He's the son of a god, and he will rise one day. I am his prophet. I am Lorgar. I am the prophet of Horus. One day, he will become emperor. Right? So all of these hundreds of worlds that they've conquered, right, have been seeded with religion. When the Emperor gets word of this, he is fucking furious. And the Emperor doesn't just nuke one city on one world. The Emperor sends the Ultramarines and Dark Angels and some of the big hitters of the Loyalist Legions, the coming Loyalist Legions, to exterminatus the whole thing. Right? He takes these 100 or so worlds and he just annihilates them. As a lesson to Lorgar. We have Monarchia again, right? Where Lorgar's told, he has his faith stripped from him. He's told, no more of this. No more of this. Right? There are no gods. None. Right? Never ever do this again. The true cost of this, though, is that he doesn't go after Horus. Like, the Emperor doesn't reprimand Horus. He reprimands Lorgar. Right? When Horus hears of this, he is furious. Because he's conquered around 500 worlds, and now 100 of those 500 are just wiped off the face of the galaxy. He's furious. Yeah? This is the seed of Horus turning against the Emperor. How does that sound? Now he has a reason to. He actually has a reason to. So how about that? Now remember, Horus has been made to feel like a tool of war this entire time. This entire time. So he's already got that bubbling inside of him. Right? This rejection, this, maybe I am just a tool. Maybe that's all I'm worthy of being. Right? And my brothers too. But he sees the billions of lives lost simply because Lorgar made a mistake. And that's not, and Horus doesn't even see it as that big a mistake. Right? What? Religion's not that bad. He's like, religion's not that bad. Why is it such a... Why are you stripping faith away from the Imperium? Why are you stripping faith away from human beings? You know? Because he likes Lorgar. Lorgar's chill. Lorgar's good. A good person. Why did you do this to him? Why did you do this to me? I conquered these worlds as well. Why did you do that to me? And all those billions of people. What, to make a fucking point? And he starts to think, well, if the Emperor is a god, he's a bad one. It's only a maniac does things like this. Yeah? Ah, Mr. Awesome says, yeah, that's really good. I think Horus should find out about the Thunder Warriors, and that sets him up questioning the Emperor. Maybe that happens too. Yeah. Maybe the Word Bearers... Maybe this can be Erebus's thing, right? Erebus is the one who comes to Horus. He finds out about the Thunder Warriors. And he says, I've got proof of what the Emperor did to the previous Space Marines, the Thunder Warriors. And he shows him, right? And that pulls him in even further. And he's like, dude, this is not right, you know? And Horus looks around at his brothers. He looks at Angron. He looks at Perturabo, Mortarion. The guys who are neglected by the Emperor, the guys who aren't really wanted, the guys who are winning most of the wars but aren't getting any of the recognition. He then looks at the case here, you know, what happened to the Thunder Warriors? What's likely, he's a tool of war, and so are his brothers. What's likely to happen to them when the Great Crusaders won? And then he looks at these hundreds of worlds the Emperor just scoured clean of life for one mistake that Lorgar made in seeding those worlds with the religion, and he thinks, holy shit, that's going to happen to us. That's going to happen to us. We're next. The Astartes and the Primarchs were next on the chopping block. Matthias says, you created us to help you save humanity, and you destroy a vast swathe of it because it doesn't suit your plans. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Positive Geekery says, how about the Emperor punishes the worlds but has a word with Lorgar about without direct punishment? Why? Because it would be cool later when he says no more librarians, he has Lorgar set up the... and then you're carrying on, I'm guessing. Okay, cool. Sounds like a good idea. I like... it works too well that he annihilates those worlds, though, rather than, you know... It's something the Emperor would do if the religion was so ingrained, you know. All those places have to be reconquered and resettled. You know? Maybe he doesn't exterminatus them, right? But he does have the Ultramarines reconquer them because they're not compliant worlds in his eyes and resettle them again, you know, at the cost of billions of human lives. Good idea, Positive Geekery, good idea. Board, yes, brilliant, yes. So Erebus brings a Thunder Warrior directly to Horus. How about that? He brings a Thunder Warrior directly to Horus. Tell him what you told me. Right? Tell him what you told me. Alright, so we have now set up the Horus heresy. And I would say Horus falling to chaos now is a lot more understandable than Horus falling to chaos the way Games Workshop told it. From here, we could literally just say, and then the Horus heresy happens, and it would be fine, right? But I want to go into a bit more detail. So, I think when the time is right, Lorgar invites Horus to Moloch, right? And Lorgar finally reveals the existence of the Chaos Gods to Horus. And says, look what Father did. He lied to us all. There are gods. There are gods. And they would like to speak to you. Right? Instead of getting into a lame-ass coma because some guy made a fart, stabbed him with a blade, or somehow, right? Instead of all that, Horus willingly marches into the portal on Moloch, right? And he's tested by the Chaos Gods. He's in there for thousands of years, right? But only like maybe a year, like maybe a week passes in real time. And when he comes back, he's actually aged, just like he has in the book Vengeful Spirit. He actually is aged, and he comes out as this amazingly powerful warrior, right? Charged by the powers of Chaos, because Chaos have showed him the future of the Imperium. And what's going to come to pass if the Emperor wins and the Emperor gets what he wants. Of course, it's all bullshit, but Horus is now susceptible to it. He didn't just fall for it because it make a good, you know, a convenient excuse. No. He falls for it because it's understandable that he falls for it. He's seen all the evidence. He comes out of that portal as the champion of chaos. Alright? Yeah, okay, positive geekery. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that sounds good. We'll do that. Yeah, so Lorgar's reprimanded, but still there are certain things that he should be putting into place, like the chaplains. Okay, fair enough. I don't know, Wanton, but I'm gonna retcon it if we did. He says, didn't we say that Horus would not be empowered by the Moloch Gate until after breathing Mortarion to go and find Angron later on? I'm gonna retcon that. All right, so we're using it this. We're using this now because it works too well, right? It works too well. All right. So one last vote before we go into the next thing. So, Orgar shows Horus Chaos Gods. Horus goes into Molech portal, like in Vengeful Spirit, and that's how it starts. That's how it starts. So instead of just having a bad dream, like Horus is in that portal for thousands of years in his time, right? He leads innumerable armies. He leads, you know, he earns the power given to him by the Chaos Gods. And the Chaos Gods work on him for thousands of years, telling him, briefing him what the Emperor's going to do, you know, what's going to happen. So by the time Horus comes out, he's completely convinced that destroying the Emperor is the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do. In fact, he's doing the Emperor a service by doing this, because the Emperor's lost his way. Whoever said that before, you're right. The Emperor's lost his way. So I'm doing this for him as well. And the Chaos Gods even tell him that. Say, dude, you need to save your father from destroying himself. Look what he did to those 100 worlds. It wouldn't be very hard to do for gods to convince Horus of this. Yeah, I'm gonna say, in all honesty, Tom, I would. That's going to be the next question. The next question is going to be, is Horus a pawn of chaos, or does he have agency? Okay. That's the next thing we're going to talk about. That's the next thing we're going to talk about. I think we're at a 90% rate there. We're going to call that. So that does happen. Okay. All right. Next poll. What kind of a champion of chaos is Horus? An unwitting pawn. A means to an end. Who becomes pawn? A means to an end, and who angers gods. Alright, here are the three options. What kind of a champion of chaos is Horus? Is he an unwitting pawn, like he is in the real lore? Is he a warrior who uses them as a means to an end, who ends up becoming a pawn later on, because he drinks too deeply of the warp? Or is he a warrior who uses them as a means to an end so much that he angers the gods and they withdraw their power from him, meaning the Emperor kills him? Oh, what a quote by Chris. Why did he destroy your 100 worlds and none of Rebute's? Because on your worlds you were worshipped above him. Ah, cool, man. Cool. Wanton says, I'd go with the idea of him trying to become the 5th Chaos God from the End and the Death, and that making the Pantheon feel threatened enough to get him murked. Yeah, maybe. Giddy says, can't listen now at dinner with family trying to make sense of all the comments. R.I.P. to Giddy. Hope you're doing well, man. Rewatch it later. Tom says, becoming a pawn is a tragic arc, and I'm all for that. I already like the guy, and now I want to feel sad. I still think Lorgar should be the ultimate chaos worshipper, though. Oh, he is. He is. By this point, Lorgar has built Horus up so much his ego needs his own battle barge. I love the idea of Horus, of like Lorgar being Horus's hype man. Like, it just... I love that. Matthias, he says, he treats Chaos like Big E treated him, as a tool, and they did not like that. Yes. Board says, he must be an idiot, but we can't take away from the Chaos Gods. He tried to use them, but in the end, he gets used. Okay. Alright. I think this vote is a complete rejection of Games Workshop's approach, right? Because they had him as an unwitting pawn, which, you know, I mean, it works, but it's kind of stupid. Alright, I'm going to call it. We're at 20 votes. So, he is a means to an end. So he uses Chaos as a means to an end. But eventually, he becomes an unwitting pawn. There we go. An unwitting pawn eventually is what he becomes. That's very tragic. From here, I think pretty much the Horus heresy plays out like it does for Horus in real life, right? Pretty much. We have the drop site massacre. We've got the campaigns across the galaxy, right? We've got the Siege of Terra. I think it works out pretty well. I think it all works out pretty well. The main thing we did here tonight is that we set up Horus as a tragic figure, but one that's understandable and one that makes decisions based on logic rather than what the writers need him to do. The problem with Horus in the actual setting is him turning to Chaos needs to happen for the setting. It doesn't make any fucking sense. And I'm going to do a video about that next week. Let me make a note. Because Horus's fall makes absolutely no fucking sense at all. So silly. So silly. Alright. Video next week. Horus is full. Makes no sense. Again, it happens because they need it to happen, not because it should happen, because it makes sense. Right? You're supposed to assume his feeling. Yeah, we're not inside his head a lot. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. We will do Black Legion eventually. We will do Black Legion eventually. We are going to do Black Legion, yes. Yes. But in terms of Horus's story, I think that's kind of it, isn't it? He dies. Right? He dies. And we can't get into much more without going into Black Legion territory, which is for another video. And next week's rebuild will be very quick because we're going over Lorgar. we've done 50% of Lorgar tonight, right? The only thing we don't know about Lorgar is how he got to Colchis and what happens to him in the end, right? But we'll cover that next week. Yeah. Oh, if we do Black Legion, we'll be here till 12 because that's a huge thing. That's a huge thing. Should we cover the gradual split of the Legion during the siege? Yeah. Yeah, we can do. We can do. What thoughts do we have on it? What thoughts do we have on the Legion splitting up? Do we want it? Do we want? Okay. Do we want Horus to kill Lorgar? I'm not sure. I'm not sure that's going to get much. You know. Maybe it will. I don't know. I'm not sure Lorgar would try to betray Horus in this one. Do you know what I mean? I don't think he would. The way that we've set him up, I don't think he would. Right? Ah, Tom, really good point. Okay, we're doing Siege of Terror, we're doing Black Legion. Alright. So okay. I'm gonna pull rank here. Loken's not dying on the Vengeful Spirit. Just ain't happening. Sorry, ain't happening. We're not killing Loken on the Vengeful Spirit. Erebus is not getting that win. He can go fuck himself because Samus doesn't exist in the Exile verse because he's fucking lame. So no, I would say the end scene is Abaddon and Loken just looking at each other and realizing, you know, enough's enough. We've both had enough. Let's go, right? And I'd be tempted, right? I'd be tempted for... Oh, I don't know. I would be really tempted to have Loken and Abaddon go off together at the end of the heresy. Right? With the Vengeful Spirit. So everyone leaves the Vengeful Spirit. And they just leave. They just go. And they're like, okay, we're done here. We're not doing this anymore. Like, we're not fighting anymore. I'm not doing this anymore. Right? Oh, dude, I've had a really good idea. Right, okay. Bear with me. And listen to this. Listen to this. And then come back to me with what you think. We'll do a vote, right? So, at the end of the Siege of Terror, you know, Dawn is taking the Emperor back to Terra. Loken stays behind, right? Most of the Sons of Horus are either on the planet and are getting away, not onto the Vengeful Spirit, but onto different ships and fleeing, right? There's only a couple of Marines left on the Vengeful Spirit because of all the warp shit that's been going down. Abaddon comes to the throne room, sees Horus lying there, and sees Loken standing there. And Horus, with a wry smile, just says... Sorry, not Horus. Abaddon, with a wry smile, says to Loken, I know you didn't do that. Right? And this actually makes him laugh. Right? They actually have a little... They're grieving. They're both crying because they've just lost their dad. Right? They're both, like, really, really heartbroken. But, like, you know, they know what's happened. You know, the Emperor's killed Horus. Loken was there, right? So they say to each... So they talk like warriors do. They talk. And Loken tries to get Abaddon to give himself up. And Abaddon says no. Because he's not a weapon of war anymore. His father's dead. He's had enough. He's going to wander the galaxy. He's had enough. He's taking this ship. And he's just going to fly somewhere. He doesn't know where. He's going to fly around. Right? Seclude himself. He's had enough. And do you know what Loken says? He says, do you know what? That sounds good. That sounds good. And they reform as brothers, and they take the Vengeful Spirit, and they just fuck off. They leave. They leave. Now, we don't know what happens to Loken, right? Or how he died. Yeah? But these two exiles, as Chris just put it, these two exiles go off into the void, and the Vengeful Spirit crash lands on the ice world that we see in the Black Legion books. And when finally, Abaddon is found by Iskandar Kaon, right? Abaddon's alone. Yeah? Abaddon is alone. And Abaddon has called Iskandar Kaon and a few other Space Marines, traitor Space Marines, to him. Because he wants to form the Black Legion. And his motivation is, they killed my brother. They didn't kill my father. He says, they killed my brother. So eventually, the Black Templars kill Garviel Loken. Eventually. Right? They stumble across them. They kill Garviel Loken in the end. And that makes Abaddon form the Black Legion. He doesn't form it because Horus was an idiot. He forms it because he had a chance of peace, and the Imperium took that away from him. So if you took that away from me, that's fine. I'm never going to forgive you for that. I'm never going to forgive you. You took away my peace, now I'm going to take away yours. He was the only person I had left, and you just had to take that away from me. You just had to take that away from me, didn't you? Zed says, there is no peace. Exactly. Not anymore. You took my father and I forgave you. Now you've taken the only brother I have left. Fuck you and your Imperium. I'm burning it down. Right? And eventually, Sigismund kills Loken. Yes, Positive Geekery. Yes, Sigismund kills Loken. Dude, it works so well. Yes. Sigismund kills Loken and Abaddon kills Sigismund. Yes. Awesome. Fucking awesome. Yes. Brilliant. Yes. Sigismund kills Loken. And then Abaddon forms the Black Legion and invades Imperial space, and the Black Templars are there to meet him, waiting for him. They have the very same fight, and Abaddon is badly injured by Sigismund, but he kills Sigismund for killing Loken. Yes, dude. Absolutely. And do you know what we can do after that? Because I want Abaddon to be like a big boss type character. We can have Abaddon say, well, vengeance has been served, but I will never let my brothers be on their own ever again. We're going to make sure that this galaxy is always at war, so we'll always have a place. I'm going to rule my own empire in the stars, and we're going to fight to protect it, and it'll be our place for us. Just like we were supposed to have in the first place. And that's the way the Black Legion's formed. That's how we do it. Dude, the Exileverse, even if it wasn't a part of my channel, if I read this somewhere else, I'd be like, this should have been the fucking Horus heresy. This should have been it. This should have been the story. That's how well we do sometimes. Certain weeks, I'm like, fuck, man. I want to paint that army. I want to write that story. I want to read that story. It's so much better than what we got. It makes me angry now, knowing what we got compared to this. This is just 30 or so dickheads on a live stream on a small YouTube channel doing better than Games Workshop and their billions of pounds. Their hundreds of millions of pounds. Fuck them, dude. This is why I keep saying to people, don't forgive them. Don't forgive them for what they've done. For the way they write things, the lack of respect they have for their own lore and their own stories. Fuck them, dude. They don't have brains. I'm not even sitting here saying we know we're so really clever. We're really clever. No, we're not clever. Nobody on this live stream, including me, is really clever. You know, or omnipotent, or a really good writer. We just used common fucking sense. And solved the entire thing. Ugh. Positive Geekery says, as a last thing, and this is the last thing I'm going to be saying today, he makes them the Black Legion to forever mock and shame Sigismund's Black Templars. Yes. Awesome. And so he never forgets what Sigismund did, yeah, and why he's doing what he's doing. Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't know. I don't know, Wanton. I would actually have them be a unified legion, to be honest with you. But, you know. Brandon says, serve in the Imperium or rule with me. Dude, I'd collect this army. I would collect this Abaddon-led Black Legion in a heartbeat. But yeah. Yeah. By the way, the Black Legion should just look like pre-heresy Space Marines. No more of this nonsense fucking trim. None of that. They should look like what you see on screen right now. Paint these guys black and gold. And batter their armor up a bit like it is there. That's what the Black Legion should look like. With that, I'm declaring the Sons of Horus complete. They're done. And the Black Legion. Sons of Horus, Black Legion, and Black Templars, done. There you go. Another one in the books. Dude, we're too good at this. So is the Black Legion getting their own video? Yeah, they will do in the end. But we now don't need to rush to it because we know what happens with them. Pete says the Games Workshop writers could easily have done something as good or better than this if there was a plan between them at all. But so many of the stories are just tangents in the dark. Exactly. That's why. Cheers, Positive Geekery. Cheers, Dave. Cheers, mate. That's why I get so pissed off with it. They could have done better than us, easily. If you got like 9 or 10 dudes around the table to just plan out the Horus Heresy, what happens, why, and how, you come up with something as good as this. But they didn't. They couldn't be bothered. They couldn't be bothered. So are Black Legion Chaos corrupted? No. No, because we've already got World Eaters, Word Bearers, right? You've got the main legions who are Chaos corrupted. You don't need Black Legion to be Chaos corrupted. Black Legion are fucking mercs. That's what they are. They're renegades, right? They're from the Eye of Terror. You know? And Abaddon's declared the War Master of Chaos, but he takes the title. You know? He takes it. He's not bestowed it by the Chaos God. He takes it. And they get behind him, because, like, yeah, and they all try to seduce him. Just like they do in the real law. Because they want him on their side. Maybe, Wanton. Maybe. That sounds like a good idea. But it really does pain me that, you know, we've got this instead. It just fucking pains me. It really does. Really annoys me. I need somebody to email me at hobbynightmares@gmail.com with a synopsis of what we decided today. Because I'm going to do a video on Tuesday about how Horus falling to Chaos doesn't make sense. And it should go all the way through to the Black Legion. No, it should be 5 or 6 bullet points. And I will do that video on Tuesday. And you will get a credit in that video. I will shout you out on that video. Alright? So email me what you remember from the live stream. I've got to go mark papers in a minute. So I'm not going to be able to do it myself. And I'm going to record it tomorrow. So, you know, I won't have that much time. I agree, Chris. I agree. Brilliant stuff. All right. Alrighty. Alright, I am done. I'm going to go do some marking and eat some dinner. But I love you all a long time. I will be back tomorrow for some more Hobby Nightmares. We're going to be discussing a 40k gamer girl getting an orc fan into a lot of trouble. That'll be tomorrow. Alright, I love you all a long time. I'll speak to you very soon. Thank you for those of you who committed to the channel, those of you who recommitted, those of you who maybe even gave monetarily during the stream. If you watched, if you liked the video, thank you very much. And I'll speak to you very, very, very soon. All right? Have a good one. Bye now.